Hello world. So what you'll have here are some videos and some still images and this here voiceover helping to explain what it is we're seeing to the best of my ability and a little bit of my overall story concerning this tint job and trying to get some corrections that I think are much needed. So in 2013, my at the time wife thought it would be nice to hook me up with a tint job on a new vehicle I had purchased. She knows that this is first order of business anytime I have a vehicle, this being my 25th vehicle. She's keenly aware of the importance of me getting tint right away. So she decides to fund a tint job for me. Very nice of her. I pony up an extra $100 because I'm very interested in these ceramics I'm hearing a lot about that will allow me to go a little lighter on the tint. I'm accustomed to getting generally a Llumar ATC 20% or a competitor's 20%, a decent charcoal type film. But I thought it'd be nicer for me and my wants to step into something closer to a 30 or 35 with a ceramic that gives me equivalent or better heat rejection and doesn't get quite so dark. So I find this Llumar CTX 30 is probably a great fit for me, and Mike from Mikes Mobile Tint agrees that he can get that stuff for me at the quoted cost. And there's a receipt on here. I think it was $280 if I'm not mistaken. And I have this work done. And as far as I can observe, he and some colleague of his do a bang-up job on the installation. I've seen slightly better if you guys are keen on these micro edges or whatever, but on the whole, clearly this was not their first time doing a tint job. He and his buddy there worked in concert to knock this tint job out in about 45 minutes if memory serves, and they definitely looked like they were doing all the right things. Interestingly, and I'm just trying to be as objective as possible about this, I don't necessarily suspect anything nefarious, but it is worth mentioning that I observed the film that's being installed on my car pulled out of a Llumar ATC box with CTX written on the end cap, if you will, in a Sharpie marker. And I'm pretty sure Llumar doesn't ship product this way, and I've even had talks with a Llumar representative as recently as yesterday, trying to help me to understand how best to approach this problem of getting this tint redone. So, from the looks of things, this film performs like I would imagine CTX 30 would. I haven't metered this, but to my eye, this is a 30. It's certainly a ceramic, as is evidenced by the low angle haze from the outside. Optically, from the inside looking out, it seems to perform like a higher caliber film would. So everything suggests that this is, if not CTX 30, it's an equivalent product. Heat rejection is great. No color changes have occurred that I've noticed over years. Nothing's delaminating, nothing's bubbling, nothing strange is going on. So I'm not trying to suggest that something untoward happened, but I found it very interesting that this came out of a box with a Sharpie marker CTX on the end. Now, it could be that when this stuff was delivered, the box was damaged and it made sense to reuse an existing box that was in the shop. It could be something very simple like that. But I'm just trying to be as truthful as I can about this and not make any wild assumptions. So that's that. Make of it what you will. So as you can see from these videos, low angle haze is a thing, but what we are seeing is something of a completely different uniformity than I've ever seen before. In fact, as a pretty keen observer of other vehicles on the road, and especially their tint work, I have never, ever seen anything that looks like this. I'm going to say subjectively, I haven't seen a tint job that looks as bad as this, because if the sun is out or you're under any kind of bright light source, if there is movement involved, either the vehicle's moving or your eyeballs are moving in any way, you're going to see light reflect off of this tint, anywhere on this tint, and you're going to see these marks. I mean, it's like cat scratches everywhere, and it's in the film. The only thing I can guess And anybody who's a professional in the tent world who might be looking at this and says, aha, I know what this is, please leave me a comment. I would love to know what you think you're seeing here. My hunch is either there is a material defect in the film that was applied, or the application was not done in accordance with how this film needs to go down. To further that, I wonder if the carding or the squeegee was hard enough or was used aggressively enough to cause the ceramics embedded in this film to start to lay down to one side or another, and that's why the reflection isn't uniform, like almost anywhere on the film. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, I don't fault an installer for this. Maybe this is the first time he'd used CTX. This was probably around the time that ceramics were just starting to get good enough that people were really interested in them. I don't think they had been around for a super long time. And you've got to pay a premium. And this is in Shelbyville, Indiana. The demographics, to me, probably don't support people wanting to pony up another $100 for a window film. You know, most of the people around there, and I'm just going to hazard a guess, probably just want the dark stuff. They want the 5% or the 15 or the 20 or something like that. They're not so interested in maximizing heat rejection and not having a really dark film, which was just what I had in mind for my needs. But anyway, at any angle, save viewing it from the front, if there's light out, you're looking at a quarter or a third of my car being glass, and it looking like it's been graffitied almost. I mean, it just looks, it's obscene. So why am I putting up a video about something that was done in 2013? Here it is, 2021. I'll tell you the reason. As I understand, this thing has a lifetime warranty, and this guy is an authorized or certified Llumar installer. I don't know this for certain. I'm still trying to chase this. I was in talks with Llumar yesterday, and I'm trying to figure out what the best course of action is here. I had in 2018 linked Mike from Mikes Mobile Tint to a shared Google Drive that had, at that time, dozens, I'm sure, videos and photos showing much of what you're seeing here. And he had agreed at that time to work with me to get this redone, and I provided him a copy of the receipt and all that. This was he uses Square, and the only documentation I have is what was emailed to me as a digital receipt from Square, and you guys will see that somewhere here in this video too. I'm voicing over it, so I don't know if it's already come or coming later. And at that time, it was not conducive. I couldn't arrange my schedule to get this work done, and I appreciate how this might look to most people. You know, here I'm many years later, having benefited from this film in some way. Now, it does look hideous, but from the inside, it's fine. It has served me well. You know, it cuts my cabin temperature tremendously. It alleviates this glare and just the general brightness in the environment. And I have this photic sneeze reflex, or photosnesia. You guys can Google it. It's got the technical term for it is a big, long, silly sounding thing. But I have this sneeze reflex when there's bright light. So as an example, if I walk outside right now, it's a bright sunny day, and I happen to look up at all, kind of towards the sun, and take in quite a bit of light into my eyes, I will just sneeze like crazy. And I've passed this strange genetic code on to one of my children as well. Poor thing. So again, I've benefited in appreciable ways from having this done, but it looks terrible. Now, when I got this done, I was working a terrible job where I never saw the light of day, so the only time I could have observed this is at the right time, approaching my vehicle from the outside on, say, a Saturday. I mean, I would show up otherwise to work when it was dark, and I would leave when it's dark, and this went on for years. And about the time I'm interested in trying to have this tint redone, I find myself without a job, out of my marital home, being divorced, and I've got 2 brand new children. And so this became a fairly low priority. And as years start to go by, I wonder if maybe this just isn't worth my time, and eventually this car is just going to be dumped at a dealership on trade, or I'll pick up something else, and this becomes somebody else's problem to deal with. Also, I'm now nowhere close to Shelbyville, Indiana for any reason. I'm at least an hour away, no matter where I'm leaving from, sometimes as much as like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes away. And in recent talks, I'm talking like May of 2021, I'm notified that this could be an all-day project, and we should plan on it being that way because the tint removal can go a lot of different ways. Even if you have a steamer, even if you've got a ton of razor blades, even if you have a heat gun, even if you're using all these things at once and there are two people, sometimes film removal can be a real bear. Now, a lot of times it's not, but you just don't know until you get into it. So I appreciate that they might want to budget quite some time to get this stuff stripped off and redone. Now, I volunteer, and maybe this is silly. I say it is almost cost prohibitive for me to do this, to lose a day, to be in Shelbyville, Indiana, or to drive there and Uber somewhere else, or to whatever needs to happen in order for me to get this stuff redone. The opportunity cost is so high for me, it almost makes more sense for me to take this car to another shop and have it done. And at that point, what I'm inclined to do is late at night, say after the kiddos go down or something like that, I'll go out to the garage and piece by piece, I'll strip the tint. I mean, it is not the first time I've done that. So I have volunteered to take the bulk of the labor away from them. I get no response to suggest whether or not that would be suitable because look, they may have a warranty claim with Llumar. I don't know how this works, and it may have to be an authorized installer, let's say. Maybe it has to be Mike from Mike's Mobile Tint with his eyes on this film, taking pictures of his own from his camera, communicating with a representative from Llumar so that he is made whole. Maybe Llumar comps the cost of this to him or makes some kind of concession for having to rework this because they decide this is a failure of Llumar film. I don't know. I'm speculating here. So, but again, note that I have offered to do this work, and I've not received any response as to whether or not that would be deemed suitable. So most recently, I've had a couple of phone calls with a woman, Tracy, who I understand is an assistant there at Mike's Mobile Tint, and somewhere in here I think you'll see a capture of the last text that I got over a month ago. And where we had arrived was when we first talked, say about mid-May, trying to get this thing sorted out, trying to get something scheduled so this can be reworked. It was clear I was not a very high priority, which as a small business owner myself, really strikes me negatively. I think that is not the right way to do this. Hence the reason this video is up. I don't know what better way to do this other than to highlight this is potentially the type of service you can expect from this shop. If you get really awful film installed or an awful application, and we don't know what it is, but hopefully someone will leave a comment if you have any ideas. I got an awful installation, and I'm really trying to make this not their problem. I have for years tried to punt this and just assume that eventually this will become the problem of the next owner of this vehicle when I trade it in somewhere. I mean, this is really what I have in mind. But now I'm at a point where I believe this vehicle is one I'm going to have in the fleet for the long haul. And it might be a car that's passed on to my older child. And this thing just got a new CVT. I mean, those are several $1,000s. This car is still well under 100,000 miles. I have done all the maintenance otherwise on my own, save the CVT. I'm a gearhead, you could say, and this car should go 300,000 without any concerns from me. So I'd like to get this redone. I'll do it myself if I have to. That would be very unfortunate, but I really hope that they will reach out to me and try and work with me here. And I think I'm a pretty agreeable guy. And again, I'm trying to take some of the load away from them. And sort of for selfish reasons too, because I'd rather not be down there all day. I'd rather go down there with clean windows, you know, primed and ready to go, so that this becomes a 45-minute redo. And maybe I can make another concession on the type of film they use, so that they don't have to buy product that's not currently in their inventory that they may or may not use, you know, because these guys will tend to want to buy these things in large rolls. And if CTX 30 as a replacement for the existing CTX 30 is not something that they're likely to sell again, I can probably work with them on a different product. It doesn't have to be exactly this. It's got to be reasonably comparable, and you know, that's a discussion we could have perhaps. Anyhow, last talked to them in May. They said, well, it'll be mid-June is the earliest. I'll talk to Mike, says Tracy, and I'll get back to you. And I haven't heard boo in over a week. And presumably this would have been about the time that they'd slot me in. But if I get a phone call back and it says, hey, I've got an opening tomorrow or in 2 days or something like that, likely that ain't gonna fly for me. So we got to do something a little better than that. Anyway, I'm ranting and I'm bitching because this is, imagine this is your vehicle. I can't think of anyone. I know an awful lot of different types of people with an awful lot of different interests and worries. And I don't think any one of them would accept this. This is either poor material or poor workmanship, and I don't think that I really care. And I know that these different films have their idiosyncrasies, and this could have been the first time he worked with CTX. And maybe the idiosyncrasy here is you got to use a different tool. You can't use your hard card that you typically use because it's your preference, because you just got comfortable with it after decades of doing film, right? I don't think, and again, I observed the installers. This was not a rookie installation, so I'm not trying to harp on Mike or the other guy who assisted in installing this. I think these are competent professional people. Nevertheless, the results speak for themselves. This looks positively atrocious, I think, to anyone. This is unacceptable quality work. And if there is a lifetime warranty you're pitching, I don't see a better time for getting a lifetime warranty honored than this. I mean, this looks like dog shit. And I'd like to get some resolution. And I'm not getting satisfaction from Mikes Mobile Tint at the moment. Llumar trying to get in contact with them, evidently. I don't know how that's going to go. I basically gave this same story to the Llumar representative. I wasn't hyper about any of this stuff. I'm just trying to state the facts. And where my opinions are being stated, hopefully I've used language to suggest where my subjectivity is coming into play and where it's not. But you guys are seeing the slides and the videos. I mean, anyone can see. I can't make this stuff up. These were all taken at different locations, different times, over a span of years. Don't ask me why I do this, but that's it. I'm not a talker. I'm more the introvert, and this is just about as draining as can be. I hate everything about this, but hopefully somebody out there has some ideas on how maybe I could address this, get some recourse, or have some ideas about how this has happened, if you've ever seen this before, because I certainly have not. I've never seen an installation that looks, not only looks this bad, but looks this way. It's very strange to me. And yeah,